Look at your phone, not the screen time numbers, not the app statistics. Look at what it's doing to you inside. You wake up exhausted before the day even starts. You scroll through 30 emotions before breakfast, anger at a headline, envy at a photo, anxiety from a message, inspiration from a quote that you'll forget by noon. You're not consuming content, you're consuming feelings, and most of them are junk. You think you're tired because you worked hard. You're not. You're tired because you felt too much. You spent your mental energy on things that don't feed you. You let your brain digest drama, outrage, comparison, and fear before you even had your morning coffee. That's not information. That's emotional fast food. And it's killing your ability to think clearly, act decisively, and build the life you keep saying you want. Most people don't understand this. They track their calories. They watch what they put in their mouth, but they never watch what they put in their mind. They never check the emotional nutrition label on the content they consume. They wouldn't eat a bag of candy for breakfast and expect to perform at a peak, but they'll mainline other people's opinions, catastrophes, and curated perfection for hours and wonder why they feel like a failure. You feel like a failure because you're comparing your behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel. You feel anxious because your brain thinks the world's problems are your problems. You feel stuck because you're full of emotional junk food and you can't move when you're bloated with feelings that aren't even yours. This isn't about being weak. This is about being poisoned slowly, drip by drip, scroll by scroll, notification by notification. Your attention is being hijacked. Your emotional system is being overloaded. And you don't even realize it's happening because everyone's doing it. It's normal to be mentally obese in a world that serves emotional junk food 24/7, but normal doesn't mean harmless, it just means common. And if you want to be uncommon, if you want to actually improve, you have to go on a diet, not a food diet, an emotional consumption diet. You have to stop treating your mind like a dumpster for every piece of content that wants to dump its feelings on you. You think you need more motivation. You don't. You need less contamination. You think you need more energy. You don't. You need to stop draining it on things that don't matter. Your mental energy is finite. Every time you react to something online, every time you get pulled into a stranger's argument, every time you watch someone else's life and feel that pang of, why not me? You're spending emotional capital. And most of you are broke. You're overdrawn. You're mentally bankrupt. The truth is, you don't have an energy problem. You have a spending problem. You're spending your most valuable resource, your attention, on things that give you nothing in return. You're investing your emotional reserves in stocks that only go down. And then you wonder why you have nothing left for your own goals, your own dreams, your own life. Look at your day. How much of it was spent feeling something about something that has zero impact on your actual life? How many times did you get angry about politics you can't control? How many times did you feel inadequate looking at someone's vacation photos? How many times did you absorb from a crisis that isn't yours to solve? These aren't harmless moments. These are withdrawals from your mental bank account. And you're making them all day long. You can't build a strong mind in an environment of constant emotional pollution. You can't find clarity when you're inhaling confusion. You can't focus on your path when you're distracted by everyone else's. This is why you feel lost. This is why you feel overwhelmed. Not because you're broken, but because you've been poisoned. And here's the worst part. You think you're informed. You think you're connected. You think you're staying up to date. But what you're really doing is filling your head with noise that drowns out your own voice. You can't hear yourself think, because you're too busy listening to everyone else feel. You can't find your own direction because you're too busy reacting to theirs. The path forward isn't more positivity. It's not more inspiration. It's a hard stop, a complete audit. You need to look at everything you consume, every app, every account, every conversation, every news source, and ask one brutal question: is this feeding me or is this feeding on me? Does this make me stronger, clearer, more focused? Or does it make me anxious, jealous, angry, and stuck? Be honest. Your brain already knows the answer. You just keep ignoring it because it's uncomfortable, because it means you have to change. It means you have to delete. It means you have to unfollow. It means you have to cut off sources of stimulation that feel necessary but are actually voluntary. You think you need to know what's happening in the world. You don't. You need to know what's happening in your world. You think you need to stay informed. But being informed about cows doesn't make you prepared, it makes you paralyzed. You think you need to be connected, but being connected to everyone means being connected to no one, including yourself. The first step is awareness, not the soft kind, the brutal kind, the kind where you admit that you've been poisoning yourself and calling it staying informed. Where you accept that your mental fatigue is self-inflicted, where you stop pretending that scrolling is resting and start calling it what it is: emotional binge eating. You don't need another productivity hack. You need a mental detox. You need to go on an emotional consumption diet, so strict that it shocks your system back to clarity. So severe that it forces you to remember what your own thoughts sound like. So thorough that you finally have the mental space to build something instead of just reacting to everything. This is not about becoming ignorant. It's about becoming selective. It's about treating your attention like the finite, precious resource it is. It's about protecting your emotional energy like it's your most valuable asset, because it is. Everything you want to build, your career, your health, your relationships, your peace, it all requires mental energy. And right now you're spending it on things that give you nothing but feelings you don't need. Stop. Look at what you're doing to yourself. Not tomorrow, not after one more scroll. Right now. Put the phone down. Close the tabs. Turn off the noise. And sit with the discomfort of your own silence. It will feel empty at first, like withdrawal. Like something's missing. That's because something is missing: the constant drip of other people's emotions that you've been mainlining for years. That emptiness is where your own thoughts will finally have room to breathe. That silence is where your own voice will start to come back. That space is where you'll find the energy you've been looking for. Not in another video, not in another post, not in another person's opinion, but in the clean, clear, quiet place that you create when you stop consuming emotional junk food. This is your starting point. Not a new app, not a new routine, a new standard for what you allow into your mind. A new rule: if it doesn't serve your growth, it doesn't get your attention. Period. No negotiations, no exceptions, no, just this once. Because every exception is a crack that weakness will exploit. Every compromise is an open door for more noise. Every justification is a step back into the buffet of junk that's been making you feel full but starving. You want to improve. Start here, not with what you do, but with what you consume. Not with your actions, but with your attention. Not with your goals, but with your mental diet. Because until you stop poisoning yourself, nothing else you do will matter. You can't outwork a toxic intake. You can't out-hustle emotional obesity. You can't build a strong life on a weak foundation of mental junk food. Clean the plate. Empty the sink. Take out the trash. And then we'll talk about what to build in the space you create. But first, you have to stop eating the poison. Every day you don't, you get weaker. Every day you do, you get stronger. Not because you did something extraordinary, but because you stopped doing something extraordinarily stupid, consuming feelings that aren't yours and calling it living. You wouldn't eat a bowl of sugar and call it breakfast. But you wake up and mainline 300 strangers' opinions before you've even brushed your teeth. You wouldn't drink a bottle of poison and call it hydration, but you spend hours absorbing outrage, fear and comparison and call it staying informed. You're what you consume. And right now, you're emotionally obese, bloated, sluggish, sick, and you don't even know what a healthy mental diet looks like anymore. It's time to count your emotional calories. Not a suggestion. As a survival requirement. As the non-negotiable first step to getting your mind back. You can't fix what you don't measure. You can't clean what you can't see. You can't stop poisoning yourself until you know exactly how much poison you're taking in. So we're going to do something you probably haven't done in years. We're going to audit your emotional intake with the brutality of a forensic accountant and the honesty of a judge who knows you're guilty. No mercy. No excuses. No, I didn't realize. You realize now, and you're going to write it all down. Every bit of it. Every feeling you consumed. Every emotional reaction you purchased with your attention. Every moment you spent feeling something about something that has nothing to do with your life. Start with today. Right now. Think back to the moment you woke up. What was the first thing you looked at? A news alert, a social media feed, a message from someone who drains you. Write it down, not just the action, the feeling it created. Did it make you anxious? Angry? Write that down. That's one emotional calorie. Was it nourishing or was it junk? Be honest. You know the difference. You just pretend you don't. Now move through your day. Every time you picked up your phone, every time you checked that app, every time you watched something, read something, listened to something that wasn't directly related to your goals or your peace. Write it down. What did you consume? And what did it make you feel? Not what you think it should have made you feel. What it actually made you feel. There's a difference. And that difference is where the truth lies. You'll start seeing patterns. You'll see that you check certain accounts when you're bored and leave feeling inadequate. You'll see that you read certain news when you're anxious and leave feeling terrified. You'll see that you watch certain videos when you're lonely and leave feeling more disconnected than before. These aren't random choices. They're emotional feeding patterns, and they're making you sick. The first category is toxic consumption. This is the poison, the things that consistently leave you worse than they found you. The accounts that make you feel small, the news that makes you afraid, the arguments that make you angry, the comparisons that make you jealous. These aren't just unhealthy, they're toxic. They should have no place in your diet. 0. Not in moderation, not just a little. 0. Because a little poison is still poison, and you're not strong enough yet to handle even a drop. The second category is neutral consumption. This is the emotional equivalent of water. It doesn't hurt you, but it doesn't help you either. It's filler. It's background noise. It's the endless scrolling through content that you don't even remember 5 minutes later. It's the conversations about nothing. It's the information that doesn't apply to your life. It's not actively toxic, but it's taking up space that could be used for something nourishing. This is where most people spend their time. Not poisoned, but not fed. Just full. Bloated with nothing. The third category is nourishing consumption. This is the good stuff. The things that make you feel stronger, clearer, more capable. The books that challenge you to think. The conversations that encourage you to grow. The music that calms your nervous system. The silence that lets your own voice emerge. The content that teaches you skills you actually need. The people who see your potential and remind you of it. This is your leafy greens. Your protein. Your water. Your vitamins. This is what your mind is starving for. Now look at your list. Be honest. What percentage is toxic? What percentage is neutral? What percentage is nourishing? It's 4% toxic, 55% neutral, and 5% nourishing. You're poisoning yourself almost half the time, filling yourself with empty calories most of the time, and actually feeding yourself almost none of the time. No wonder you feel like garbage. No wonder you're exhausted. No wonder you can't focus. You're malnourished. This is why you can't think clearly. This is why you can't make decisions. This is why you can't stick to your goals. Your mind is too busy digesting emotional junk food to do anything else. It's like trying to run a marathon after eating at a fast food buffet. You don't have the fuel. You have the opposite of fuel. You have sludge. So now you have a choice. You can keep lying to yourself. You can say, it's not that bad. You can say, I can handle it. You can say, everyone does it. Or you can decide that your mental health is more important than your mental habits. You can decide that your peace is more valuable than your entertainment. You can decide that your future self deserves better than the emotional garbage you're feeding it today. If you choose better, here's what you do. First, you eliminate all toxic consumption. Right now. Not tomorrow. Not after you finish this chapter. Right now. Delete the apps, unfollow the accounts, mute the people. Block the sources. You're not being mean. You're being surgical. You're cutting out a tumor. You're removing poison from your diet. This will feel extreme. That's because it is. Your mind is extremely sick. Extreme problems require extreme solutions. Second, you reduce neutral consumption by 80%. Not all of it. You still need some downtime. But 80% of it is just habit. It's autopilot. It's you avoiding something else. So cut it. Set a timer. 20 minutes a day for neutral scrolling. That's it. When the timer goes off, you're done. No exceptions. Just 5 more minutes. You're done. Because those 5 minutes turn into 50, and those 50 minutes turn into 5 hours. And those 5 hours are gone forever. Third, you increase nourishing consumption by 500%. Yes, 500%. Because right now you're at 5%. You need to be at 20% minimum. That means for every 4 hours you're awake, 1 hour should be spent consuming something that actually feeds your mind, reading a book that teaches you something, listening to a podcast that challenges you, having a conversation that deepens you, sitting in silence that restores you. This isn't optional. This is your new requirement. You'll resist this. You'll tell yourself it's too much. You'll say you don't have time. You'll say you need to stay informed. You'll say you need to stay connected. These are lies. Weakness speaking. Fear speaking. The part of you that doesn't want to change because change is uncomfortable. But discomfort is where growth lives. And right now, you're comfortable being mentally sick. That's the problem. Start small if you have to. But start today. Right now, pick one toxic source. Just one. And not mute it. Not unfollow it. Delete it. Remove its access to you. Feel that little pang. That's withdrawal. That's your addiction to the poison fighting back. Good. Let it fight. You're stronger than a phone app. You're stronger than a stranger's opinion. You're stronger than your own weakness. Act like it. Then pick one nourishing source. Just one. A book, a mentor, a practice. And schedule it. Not when I have time. Not maybe later. Schedule it. Put it in your calendar. Protect it like it's the most important meeting of your day. Because it is. It's a meeting with the person you're becoming. Don't be late. Don't cancel. Show up. This is how you start counting emotional calories. This is how you start measuring what matters. Not your intentions. Not your plans. Your actual consumption. Your real intake. The truth of what you're feeding your mind. And once you see it, once you measure it, once you admit it, you can't unsee it. You can't pretend anymore. You'll know. And that knowledge will either change you or haunt you. The choice is yours. But keep eating the junk and feeling like junk. Or start counting the calories and feeding yourself something real. There's no middle ground. There's no moderation with poison. There's no balancing toxicity. There's only clean or contaminated, fed or starving, growing or decaying. Your mind is waiting. It's hungry for substance. It's thirsty for peace. It's desperate for clarity. But you keep feeding it candy and wondering why it can't think straight. Stop. Count the calories. Read the labels. Throw out the poison. And start feeding yourself like you matter. Because you do. But you won't believe that until you act like it. And acting like it starts with what you allow into your head. Every scroll is a choice. Every click is a vote. Every feeling you consume is either building you or breaking you. Start choosing build. Start voting for yourself. Start counting. Because no one else will do it for you. And you can't improve what you refuse to measure. You did it. You finally deleted the apps. You unfollowed the accounts. You muted the people who drain you. You cleared your feed, cleaned your timeline, and cut the poison from your mental diet. You feel proud for about 60 seconds. Then the panic sets in. Your hand reaches for your phone. It's muscle memory. You unlock it and stare at an empty screen. The apps are gone. The red notification badges are gone. The infinite scroll is gone. You feel naked, exposed, lost. You don't know what to do with your hands. You don't know what to do with your mind. You don't know what to do with the silence that suddenly feels too loud. This is withdrawal. This is the detox. This is your addiction to emotional junk food fighting back. And it will lie to you. It will tell you you've made a mistake. It will say you're missing out. It will whisper that you're being extreme. That you need to stay informed. That you need to stay connected. That you need just a little taste, just one peek, just 5 minutes. That's weakness talking. That's the poison begging to be let back in. Listen to me. That feeling in your chest, that emptiness, that anxiety, it's not a sign you did something wrong. It's proof you were addicted. A healthy mind doesn't panic when the noise stops. A healthy mind breathes. A healthy mind thinks. A healthy mind finds peace in the quiet. You're not healthy yet. You're in rehab. And rehab is supposed to feel uncomfortable. Uncomfortable is where the healing starts. Most people quit here. They can't handle the silence. They can't sit with themselves. They can't face the fact that they've been using other people's emotions as a substitute for their own life. So they download the apps again. They refollow the accounts. They plug back into the matrix and call it balance. But it's not balance, it's surrender. It's giving up because the truth was too quiet to bear. You're not going to surrender. You're going to sit in the discomfort. You're going to let your hands feel empty. You're going to let your mind feel bored. You're going to let the silence do its work. Because silence is not empty. Silence is full of answers. Phase silence is where your own voice has been waiting. Silence is the only place you can hear yourself think, and you haven't heard yourself think in years. The first 3 days are the hardest. Your brain will scream for stimulation. It will invent emergencies. It will tell you you're being irresponsible. It will create a false sense of urgency. What if something important happens? What if someone needs me? What if I miss an opportunity? These are lies. Lies designed to get you to plug back in. Lies that keep you weak. Lies that protect your addiction. How many real emergencies have you handled through social media in the last year? None. How many opportunities came from mindless scrolling? None. How many people who truly needed you couldn't reach you any other way? None. These are not real concerns. These are withdrawal symptoms, and they will pass, but only if you don't feed them. You need a plan for these 3 days, not a hope, not a wish, a concrete, written, non-negotiable plan. Because willpower won't be enough. Your weakness is stronger than your will right now. Your habits are deeper than your intentions. You need structure. You need rules. You need guardrails that keep you from driving off the cliff. First rule: phone stays out of the bedroom. Not on the nightstand, not under the pillow. Out, in another room, on silent. You wake up, you don't touch it for the first hour. That hour belongs to you, not to the world, not to the noise. To you, you can think, you can breathe, you can be. That's it. If you can't handle an hour, you're more addicted than you thought. Good. Now you know the truth. No second rule, no phone during meals. Not a quick check. Not for a glance. Not for just 1 minute. The phone stays in another room. You eat. You taste your food. You sit with yourself. You tolerate the boredom. You let your mind wander. You let it be uncomfortable. You let it realize that it can survive without constant input. This is training. This is discipline. This is how you break the pattern. Third rule: 1 hour before bed, all screens go dark. TV. No laptop, no tablet, no phone, nothing. You think this is extreme? Good. Extreme problems require extreme solutions. Your brain has been fried by blue light and overstimulation for years. It needs to remember what darkness feels like. It needs to remember what quiet sounds like. It needs to remember how to produce its own thoughts instead of just reacting to someone else's. You'll hate this. You'll feel angry. You'll feel restless. You'll feel like you're being punished. You're not being punished. You're being healed. The punishment was what you were doing before. The punishment was waking up anxious. The punishment was going to bed overwhelmed. The punishment was spending your life feeling like you're never enough while consuming content that proves it. This is not punishment. This is liberation. It just feels like punishment because you don't remember what freedom feels like. During these 3 days, you need replacement behaviors. Not just removal. You can't just stop. You have to start something else. Something active. Something intentional. Something that requires you to produce instead of consume. Because consumption is the problem. Consumption is what made you weak. You need it to produce. Even if it's bad. Write even if it's just for you. Write in a journal. Not a digital one. A real one. With paper. With a pen. Write down what you're feeling. Write down what you're thinking. Write down the lies your withdrawal is telling you. Get them out of your head and onto the page where you can see them for what they are: a weakness trying to survive. When you write them down, they lose power. When you keep them in your head, they multiply. Go for a walk without headphones, without a podcast, without music. Just walk. Let your mind wander. Let it be bored. Boredom is not the enemy. Boredom is the gateway to creativity. Boredom is what forces your brain to entertain itself, is where ideas are born. You've been avoiding boredom like it's a disease. It's not. It's the cure. Embrace it. Talk to someone. In person. Face to face. Have a conversation that isn't mediated by a screen. Ask them real questions. Listen to their real answers. Feel the awkwardness of actual human connection. It's uncomfortable because you've forgotten how to do it. You've been using emojis as a substitute for emotion. You've been using text as a substitute for talk. Relearn it. It's supposed to be messy. It's supposed to be imperfect. That's what makes it real. The withdrawal will tell you this is pointless. It will say you're not making progress. It will whisper that nothing is changing. That's a lie. Everything is changing. You just can't see it yet because the change is happening underneath. Your brain is rewiring. Your nervous system is recalibrating. Your identity is shifting. You are becoming someone who doesn't need the noise. Someone who can sit in silence. Someone who can generate their own thoughts. Someone who is no longer a slave to stimulation. This is the hardest part. This is where most people break. They feel the emptiness, and they think it means they're empty. They feel the boredom, and they think it means their life is boring. They feel the anxiety, they think it means they did something wrong. They didn't. They did something right. The anxiety is the poison leaving your system. The boredom is the space where your real life will grow. The emptiness is the room you need to fill with something you create instead of something you consume. You have to trust the process. You have to trust that discomfort is a sign of growth, not a sign of error. You have to trust that the silence is working on you, even when it feels like nothing is happening. You have to trust that you're not missing out on anything by disconnecting from the noise. The noise was the thing making you miss out on your own life. The withdrawal will tell you you're being antisocial. You're not. You're being pro-you. There's a difference. Social doesn't mean connected to everyone. Social means connected to the right people in the right way. Scrolling through 1,000 acquaintances' lives is not connection. It's contamination. It's emotional junk food. Real connection is intentional. It's focused, it's nourishing. And it happens in the real world, not the digital buffet. The withdrawal will tell you you're falling behind. Behind what? Behind whom? Behind the people who are also scrolling their lives away. Behind the curated perfection that isn't real. Behind the news cycle that spins every 15 minutes. That's not behind. That's escape. That's you getting off the treadmill that was running you into the ground. You're not falling behind. You're finally standing still long enough to find your own direction. You need to prepare for day 3. That's when it hits hardest. That's when the novelty wears off. That's when the reality sets in. That's when your brain starts bargaining. Maybe we can just check one thing. Maybe just one app. Maybe just for 5 minutes. No, not 5 minutes. Not one app. Because you know what happens. One thing becomes everything. 5 minutes becomes 5 hours. One app becomes all of them. You're an addict. Addicts can't have just a little. They have to have none. That's the charge. It's uncomfortable. It's exactly what you need to hear. On day 3, you need to double down. You need to write more. Walk more. Talk more. Move more. You need to exhaust your body so your mind doesn't have the energy to fight you. You need to fill the space so completely with productive action that there's no room for weakness to whisper, this is war. And war requires total commitment, not half measure. Not try. Not maybe. Total. Complete. Unwavering. You will want to quit. You will want to go back. You will want the comfort of the poison because the poison was familiar. The poison was easy. The poison didn't require you to think. It just required you to consume. But you're not a consumer anymore. You're a producer. You're a creator. You're a builder. And builders don't have time for junk. They need fuel. Real fuel. And you're learning what that feels like. The withdrawal is lying to you. It will keep lying. It will lie on day 1, day 3, day 7, day 30. The voice never completely disappears. It just gets quieter. It just loses its power. It just becomes background noise instead of the main event. But you have to get through the scream to get to the whisper. You have to endure the hurricane to find the calm. You have to go through the fire to come out clean. Most people won't do this. Most people can't. Most people are too married to their emotional junk food to even admit they're addicted. You've already done the hardest part. You admitted it. You took action. You cut the poison. Now you have to survive the detox. And you will. Not because it's easy. Not because it feels good, but because you decided that your life is worth more than a scroll. Your peace is worth more than a like. Your future is worth more than a momentary hit of someone else's emotion. Sit in the silence. Let your hands feel empty. Let your mind feel bored. Let your heart feel the absence of constant stimulation. And then, slowly, almost imperceptibly, you'll start to feel something else. A spark, a thought, an idea. Your own, not borrowed, not fed to you. Yours. And that spark, that tiny flicker of your own mental life, is worth more than all the content you've ever consumed. Because that spark can't become a fire. That idea can become a life, but only if you protect it. Only if you guard it. Only if you don't let the poison back in. The withdrawal will lie. It will say you're missing out. But you're finally showing up. For yourself. For your life. For the person you were before the noise took over. Survive 3 days. Then 7. Then 30. And one morning you'll wake up and realize you didn't reach for your phone. You didn't check the feed. You didn't need the noise. You had your own thoughts. You had your own plan. You had your own peace. And that peace will be so valuable, so precious, so absolutely non-negotiable that the thought of going back will seem insane. And it is. It always was. You just couldn't see it because you were in the middle of the addiction. The withdrawal will lie. You will not listen. You will act. You will survive. You will win. You're through the worst of it. The silence doesn't scare you as much anymore. Your hands have stopped automatically reaching for the phone. You've survived the first 3 days, maybe the first week. You've proven to yourself that you can exist without the constant drip of other people's emotions. Now what? Now you learn to feed yourself. Really feed yourself, not just avoid poison, but actively consume nourishment. This is where most people mess up. They think removal is enough. They think detox is the destination. It's not. It's the preparation. The real work starts now. The work of intentionally, deliberately, aggressively feeding your mind the fuel it needs to become strong. You starved yourself for years. You lived on emotional junk food and called it a diet. Now you need to relearn what real mental nutrition looks like. And just like a body that's been malnourished, you can't just start eating at a buffet. You have to start small. You have to start gentle. You have to rebuild your ability to digest real food. Your mind is weak right now. Not because you failed, but because you've been poisoned. Weak minds need careful feeding. They need the right nutrients in the right amounts at the right times. First, you need to understand the difference between passive consumption and active consumption. Passive consumption is what you were doing before. Scrolling, watching, listening without engaging, letting information wash over you like a wave, taking nothing with it when it recedes. This is emotional grazing. It's how you became obese. It's how you got sick. Feels like eating, but it's not. It's just putting things in your mouth and swallowing without tasting, without chewing, without digesting. Active consumption is different. Active consumption means you're hunting your food, not waiting for it to be served. It means you choose what you consume with intention. It means you engage with it. You ask questions. You apply. You take it. You argue it. You make it yours. Active consumption turns information into fuel. Passive consumption turns information into fat. One builds you. The other buries you. So you need a feeding schedule, not a suggestion. A schedule. Your mind needs to know that it will be fed. That it doesn't need to panic. That it doesn't need to binge. That it can trust you to provide real nourishment at regular intervals. This builds security. This builds strength. This builds the foundation for everything else. Morning feeding, first hour of your day belongs to you. Not to the world. Not to the noise. To you. This is when you feed your mind the most important meal of the day, clarity. You read something that challenges you, not something that entertains you, something that makes you think. 10 pages. That's it. Not 50. Not a whole book. 10 pages of something dense, something real, something written before the internet existed. Philosophy, history, biography, something that survived because it had substance, not because it had a good thumbnail. You read with a pen in your hand. You underline. You write in the margins. You argue with the author. You agree. You disagree. You engage. This is active consumption. This is turning someone else's thoughts into fuel for your own. 10 pages. Every morning. No exceptions. No, I'm not feeling it. That's the junk food talking. That's the addiction whispering. You don't negotiate. You do it. Because this is your mental breakfast. This is what gives you energy for the day. This is what builds your mental muscle. Midday feeding lunch is not just for your body. It's for your mind too. You take 20 minutes, not to scroll, not to check, not to see what's happening. 20 minutes to listen to something that teaches you something you need to know. A podcast about your craft. A lecture about your field. An interview with someone who has walked the path you're trying to walk. You listen actively. You take notes. You pause and think. You rewind and re-listen. You don't just let it play in the background while you do something else. That's passive. That's junk food disguised as nutrition. You need this midday feeding because your morning energy is gone. The day's stress has piled on. Your mind is looking for an escape. It wants the easy scroll, the cheap whip feeling. You give it real food instead. You give it something that reminds you why you're doing this. Something that reconnects you to your bigger picture. Something that feeds your goals, not your gossip habit. Evening feeding 1 hour before bed. You feed your mind the lightest but most important meal: reflection. You write, not on a computer, with a pen, on paper. You answer 3 questions. What did I learn today? What did I create today? What did I consume that served me? These questions force you to audit your day. They force you to look for nourishment. They force you to take ownership of what you fed yourself. This is not a journal. This is a ledger. This is a record of your mental diet. You write down what you consumed that was nourishing. You write down what you consumed that was junk. You write down where you slipped. You write down where you won. You make it real. You make it visible. You make it accountable. Because what gets measured gets managed. And what gets managed gets improved. This evening feeding is crucial because it's when you're most vulnerable. The day's defenses are down. The willpower is spent. The weakness is loud. It wants easy. It wants to zone out. You don't let it. You end the day with intention. You end the day with clarity. You end the day by proving to yourself that you are in control. Not your habits. Not your cravings. You. Now let's talk about what nourishing content actually looks like, because most people think they're consuming good stuff when they're really just consuming dressed up junk. They read self-help books that make them feel good for 5 minutes but change nothing. They listen to motivational speeches that pump them up but have no substance. They watch educational videos that teach them trivia they never use. That's not nourishment. That's junk food with a health label. Real nourishment has 3 criteria. 1, it challenges you. It doesn't just confirm what you already believe. It forces you to question. It forces you to grow. It forces you to stretch. 2, it's actionable. You can take something from it and apply it immediately, not theoretically. Today. Right now. 3, it's timeless, not trendy, not viral, not popular. Timeless. It was true 100 years ago. It will be true 100 years from now. It's based on principles, not opinions. This means you need to be selective. More selective than you've ever been. You need to treat your mental diet like a billionaire treats their financial investments. Every piece of content you consume is an investment of your most valuable resource, your attention. Is this investment going to pay dividends? Is it going to make you stronger, clearer, more capable? Or is it going to be a waste? Is it going to be a loss? You need to be ruthless. You need to be cold. You need to be calculating. Because your future depends on it. Sarsen, start building your mental food pyramid. At the base, you have your staples. These are the books, the thinkers, the ideas that you return to again and again. They're your rice and beans, your bread and water, your foundation. For some people, it's Marcus Aurelius. For others, it's the Bible. For some, it's a specific textbook in their field. It doesn't matter what it is. It matters that it's solid. It matters that it's real. It matters that you can build on it. These staples should be physical books, not digital. Physical. Books you can hold. Books you can write in. Books that don't have notifications. Books that don't have hyperlinks pulling you away. Books that demand your full attention. Books that are immune to the digital noise. You need 10 of these. 10 books that you read and reread. 10 books that become part of your mental DNA. 10 books that you can quote from memory. 10 books that shape how you see the world. Next layer, your proteins. These are the challenging sources, the dense podcasts, the technical lectures, the deep interviews, the scientific papers, the things that require effort to digest. You consume these 3 times a week, not daily. Your mind can't handle that much heavy protein daily, 3 times a week. It's protected. Non-negotiable. These proteins are what build your mental muscle. They hurt a little to consume. They require focus. They demand concentration. They make you tired. Good. That's growth. That's strength. That's what you missed when you were living on emotional candy. You thought learning was supposed to feel good. It's not. Learning feels like work, because it is work. And you've been avoiding work. Next, layer your vegetables. Oh, these are the practical skills, the how-to content tutorials, the guides, the courses, the things that teach you something you can do. Not just think, do. You need these daily, not for hours, for 30 minutes. 30 minutes of learning a skill, a language, a craft, a tool, a technique, something that makes you more capable than you were yesterday. These vegetables are crucial because they give you wins, real wins. Not emotional wins, not I feel inspired wins. I can now do something I couldn't do yesterday wins. Those wins stack. Those wins compound. Those wins build confidence that isn't based on feelings. It's based on proof. Proof that you're getting better. Proof that you're feeding yourself right. Top layer your treats. Yes, you get treats. You're human. You need pleasure. You need entertainment. You need things that make you laugh. But treats are 5% of your diet, not 50%. Not 80 cents. 1 hour a week. That's it. 1 hour of pure passive, entertaining consumption. A movie. A game. Something that serves no purpose other than enjoyment. And you schedule it. You don't binge it. You don't binge because binging is what addicts do. You consume it intentionally. You enjoy it fully. Then you stop. This is your new mental diet. This is how you feed yourself first. This is how you stop being a consumer and start being a builder. Because builders don't have time for junk. They need fuel, real fuel, measured fuel, intentional fuel. But here's the thing, you have to prepare this food yourself. You can't wait for it to be served to you. You can't rely on algorithms. You can't rely on recommendations. You have to hunt. You have to gather. You have to curate. You have to become your own mental nutritionist. You have to know what your mind needs and you have to provide it. No one else will. No one else can. This means you need a system, a content procurement system. Every Sunday, you spend 1 hour planning your mental meals for the week. You choose your 10 pages for each morning. You select your 3 protein sources. You pick your daily vegetable skill. You schedule your treat. You write it down. You put it in your calendar. You treat it like your life depends on it, because it does. Hex, when you fail, and you will fail, quit. You don't binge. You don't say, I'll start over next week. You say, I missed a meal. I'll eat the next one. That's it. No drama. No guilt. No punishment. You just get back on schedule. Because this isn't a diet you go on and off. This is how you eat now. This is how you live now. This is who you are now. You're someone who feeds themselves first. You're someone who is intentional about their mental nutrition. You're someone who treats their attention like the valuable resource it is. You're someone who doesn't consume anything that doesn't serve them. You're someone who is building a mind so strong that the noise of the world becomes irrelevant. This is the path forward. This is the work. This is the daily, weekly, monthly practice of feeding yourself like you matter, because you do. But you won't believe it until you act like it. And acting like it starts with what you put in your mind. The world will keep serving junk. The world will keep offering poison. The world will keep trying to steal your attention. That's fine, let it. You're not interested anymore. You've got your own food. You've got your own fuel. You've got your own plan. And you're not hungry for what they're selling. Feed yourself first, feed yourself well, feed yourself like your life depends on it. Because for the first time in years, it actually does. You think you're in control of what you consume. You think you're making choices. You think you're the customer, browsing the digital marketplace of ideas, selecting what serves you, leaving what doesn't. You're not the customer, you're the product. And the supply chain that feeds you is broken, corrupted, and designed to poison you slowly while convincing you it's a 5-star meal. Look at how you find content. You don't hunt anymore. You don't gather. You don't select with intention. You wait to be fed. You open an app and an algorithm decides what you see. You type a question and a search engine decides what you find. You click a link and a recommendation engine decides what comes next. You are not in control. You are being controlled. Not by force, by convenience, by the illusion of choice, by the fact that the poison tastes so good you forget it's killing you. This is the collapse of your mental supply chain. You've outsourced your nutrition to systems that profit from your sickness. They don't make money when you're healthy, focused, and strong. They make money when you're anxious, distracted, and weak. Your weakness is their business model. Your addiction is their revenue stream. Your attention is their raw material, and they're strip mining it until there's nothing left but a hollow, reactive shell that can only feel, never think. You think you're being smart by following experts. But which experts? The ones the algorithm puts in front of you. The ones with the best SEO. The ones who paid to be promoted. The ones who know how to game the system. That's not expertise. That's marketing. You wouldn't let a billboard decide what you eat for dinner. But you let a timeline decide what you think about yourself. About the world. About what's possible. The supply chain is broken because it's not built to nourish you, it's built to capture you. Every piece of content is engineered for one purpose, to keep you consuming. Make you smarter, not to make you stronger. Not to help you build, to keep you scrolling. To keep you watching, to keep you clicking. The longer you stay, the more they earn. Your growth is irrelevant. Your improvement is a side effect they tolerate, not a goal they pursue. What happens when a supply chain is broken? You starve, but you don't feel like you're starving, you feel full, bloated, overwhelmed. That's the trick. They feed you volume, not value. They give you calories, not nutrition. You consume 1,000 feelings a day and call it being informed, but you're not informed. You're inflamed. You're not educated. You're overstimulated. You're not empowered. You're emotionally obese. And here's the brutal part: you defended this system. You told yourself you needed it. You told yourself you were making informed choices. You told yourself you could handle it. You told yourself you were the exception. You weren't. You were the rule. You were the perfect customer, the one who kept coming back for more, even when it made you sick. The one who defended the poison because the poison was familiar. The one who built your identity around consumption and called it culture. You can't fix a broken supply chain by consuming more from it. You can't clean poison water by drinking more of it. You can't heal from a toxic diet by finding better junk food. The system is the problem. The system is designed to fail you. The system must be replaced, not reformed. Replaced with a supply chain you control, with a system you build, with a method that serves you, not profits from you. You need to become your own mental farmer. You need to own your mental farmland. You need to plant, grow, harvest, and store your own food. This is not a metaphor. This is a literal, practical, non-negotiable requirement. You cannot be healthy if you don't control what you eat. You cannot be mentally strong if you don't control what you consume. And you cannot control what you consume if you're still dependent on a system that wants you weak. Start with the seeds. The seeds are the foundational texts, thinkers, and ideas that you build everything else on. These are not found on trending pages. These are not discovered through algorithms. These are hunted. These are earned. These are chosen through research, through recommendations from people you respect in the real world, through your own growing intuition about what you need. You need 10 seeds, 10 foundational sources that you will read, study, and internalize until they become part of your mental DNA. Your seeds might be different from mine. That's fine. This is your farm, but they must meet the criteria: timeless, actionable, challenging. They must be older than the internet. They must have survived because they have substance, not because they had good marketing. They must require effort to understand. They must reward that effort with transformation. Find 10. Hunt for them. Don't just accept what you're fed. Go looking. Go digging. Go searching like your life depends on it. Because it does. Once you have your seeds, you plant them. Planting means reading with intention. Reading with a pen. Reading with questions. Reading with the goal of making the ideas yours, not just memorizing them. You plant by writing summaries. You plant by teaching the concepts to someone else. You plant by applying one idea from the text to your life each week. You don't just read, you work. You labor. You sweat mental sweat. That's what planting feels like. It's not comfortable. It's not passive. It's active. It's hard. It's supposed to be. Then you grow. Growth comes from cross-pollination. You take an idea from one seed and combine it with an idea from another. You see the connection. You build the bridge. You create something new. Something yours. You don't just regurgitate what you consumed. You synthesize. You create. You write your own thoughts. You build your own frameworks. You develop your own mental models. This is how you grow your own food instead of eating someone else's leftovers. This requires empty space. It requires time without input. It requires boredom. You cannot grow if you're constantly consuming. You need space for the seeds to take root. You need silence for the ideas to germinate. You need stillness for the connections to form. This is why the detox was necessary. This is why the withdrawal had to be survived. You can't grow in poisoned soil. You can't build on a foundation of noise. You had to clear the land before you could farm it. Now you harvest. Harvesting means capturing what you've grown. You write it down. You record it. You store it. You build a personal knowledge base, a second brain, a mental pantry. This is your storehouse. This is what you draw from when you need to produce, when you need to solve a problem, when you need to make a decision. You're not Googling. You're not scrolling. You're reaching into your own storehouse and pulling out what you've grown. This is power. This is independence. This is freedom. You store your harvest in a system, not a digital system that can be accessed by algorithms, a physical system, notebooks, index cards, a commonplace book, something you can hold, something that can't be tracked, something that doesn't have ads. You review this storehouse weekly, you rotate your stock, you refresh your memory, you strengthen the neural pathways, you make sure nothing rots, you make sure everything is accessible. Finally, you protect your supply chain. You guard it like your life depends on it, because it does. You don't let anyone else plant seeds in your field without your permission. You don't let anyone else's ideas cross-pollinate without inspection. You don't let any toxic contamination near your crops. You become ruthless. You become territorial. You become the sole guardian of your mental nutrition. This means you stop asking for recommendations from people who are still addicted to junk food. You stop taking advice from people who are still obese. You stop letting algorithms suggest what you should learn next. You decide. You hunt. You gather. You curate. You control the entire chain from seed to plate. This is the only way to guarantee quality. This is the only way to ensure nutrition. This is the only way to build a mind that isn't dependent on systems designed to weaken it. Nouveau thicken it. You think this is extreme. Good. Extreme problems require extreme solutions. Your mental supply chain collapsed years ago. You've been scavenging in a dumpster and calling it a supermarket. You've been eating poison and calling it culture. You've been consuming garbage and wondering why you feel like trash. Extreme. Yes. Necessary. Absolutely. Start it right now. Choose one seed. One foundational text. Something you've heard about but never read. Something that intimidates you. Something that feels too hard. That's your seed. That's your starting point. Order it. Borrow it. Get it in your hands. Physical. Real. Tangible. Open it. Read 10 pages. With a pen and notebook. With the intention of owning it. Not just consuming it. This is your first crop. This is your first step toward mental sovereignty. This is how you rebuild the supply chain. Not by hoping the old one gets better. Not by finding cleaner junk food. By building your own farm. By becoming your own farmer. By taking control of every step from seed to harvest to plate. The collapse happened because you trusted systems that exploited you. The rebuilding happens when you trust only yourself. When you verify everything. When you question every source. When you test every idea. When you take ownership of your nutrition like your life depends on it. Because it does. And you've been starving for years. Not from lack of volume. From lack of nutrition. Your mind is a garden. Right now it's full of weeds, toxins, and trash. You've spent the last few weeks pulling the weeds. You survived the detox. Now it's time to plant. Now it's time to grow. Now it's time to feed yourself like you matter. Because you do. But you won't believe that until you see the crops. Until you taste the food you grew yourself. Until you feel the strength that comes from real nutrition. The supply chain is broken. You are the fix. Start farming. Sana. You think doing nothing is laziness. You think empty time is wasted time. You think silence is a problem that needs to be filled. You're wrong. Dead wrong. Doing nothing is the most productive thing you can do. Empty time is where your best ideas live. Silence is not a problem. It's the solution you've been avoiding. This is emotional fasting, and it's the missing piece in your transformation. You've learned to remove poison. You've learned to feed yourself. Now you need to learn the power of consuming nothing at all. You live in a world that hates empty space. Every moment is monetized. Every silence is sold. Every second of boredom is an opportunity for an app to slide in and offer stimulation. You've been conditioned to believe that stillness is stagnation, that quiet is failure, that empty is empty. But empty is not empty. Empty is full, full of creativity, full of you. The problem isn't that you have empty space. The problem is you've never learned how to use it. You've been trained to fear it. You've been taught to fill it. You've been rewarded for avoiding it. Emotional fasting is the deliberate, intentional practice of consuming nothing. No input. No content. No stimulation. No feelings that aren't yours. It's a period of time where you starve your mind of everything external so it can digest what's already there. So it can process what you've consumed. So it can turn seeds into crops. So it can turn information into insight. So it can turn knowledge into wisdom. You think you need more information to be wise. You don't. You need more digestion. A cow that grazes all day but never chews its cud starves to death with a full stomach. That's you. You've been grazing on information for years. You've consumed more in the last month than your grandparents did in a lifetime. But you've never chewed your cud. You've never processed. You've never digested. You've just consumed and moved on, consumed and moved on, consumed and moved on. And you wonder why you're still starving. Emotional fasting forces you to digest. It forces you to sit with what you've already consumed and extract every nutrient from it. It forces you to ask questions, to make connections, to build bridges, to synthesize, to create. This doesn't happen while you're consuming. It happens in the empty space between consumption. But you've filled every empty space with more consumption. You've eliminated the very thing you need most. Start small. 1 hour a week. 1 hour where you consume nothing. No phone, no podcast, no conversation, no input, just you and your thoughts, just you and the silence, just you and the empty space. This will feel like torture. Good. That means it's working. That means you're breaking the addiction. That means you're finally facing what you've been running from yourself. During this hour, you don't try to think. You don't try to solve problems. You don't try to be productive. You just be. You sit. You walk. You stare out a window. You let your mind wander without direction. You let it go where it wants to go. You let it make connections without forcing them. You let it digest. You let it rest. You let it breathe. Your mind will fight you. It will scream for input. It will invent emergencies. It will create urgencies. It will whisper that you're wasting time. You're not wasting time. You're investing it. You're investing in the most important infrastructure there is, your ability to think for yourself. You're building the mental muscle that has atrophied from years of passive consumption. You're relearning how to be still, how to be quiet, how to be present, how to be alone without being lonely. Most people can't do this. They try once, feel the panic, and quit. They think the panic is a sign they're doing something wrong. It's not. The panic is a sign they were deeply addicted. The panic is a sign this is exactly what they need. The panic is weakness leaving the body. It's poison exiting the system. It's the junk food being purged. Sit with it. Let it pass. Don't feed it. Don't respond to it. Just observe it. I feel panic. I feel anxiety or boredom. Good. Don't feel it. Don't fix it. Feel it. Feel it. That's the fast. That's the detox. That's the detox. That's the work. After 1 hour a week becomes tolerable, you increase it. 1 hour every other day, then 1 hour daily, then 2 hours, then 4. Then you take an entire day. 1 day a month where you consume nothing. No input, no media, no news, no books, no podcasts, nothing. This is a full emotional fast. This is where the real magic happens. This is where your mind, starved of external stimulation, starts eating its own fat. It starts burning the stored information. It starts processing the backlog. It starts creating new ideas from old seeds. You think you need to read more to have more ideas. Wrong. You need to think more about what you've already read. You need to sit with one idea for hours instead of consuming 100 ideas in an hour. Depth, not breadth. Digestion, not consumption. Wisdom, not information. This is what emotional fasting creates. This is the power of empty space. The most successful people in history were masters of empty space. They scheduled doing nothing into their calendars. They protected it like a meeting with the president because they understood what you don't, that empty space is where the best work happens. Not at the desk, not in the meeting, not in the hustlance, in the stillness, in the space between the noise. Einstein stared out the window for hours. Newton sat under a tree. Darwin took long walks. These weren't breaks from their work. This was their work. The thinking, the processing, the connecting, that's the work. Everything else was just output. But you've been so focused on output, you've eliminated the input processing. You've been typing without ever stopping to think about what you're going to type. You've been talking without ever stopping to think about what you're going to say. You've been living without ever stopping to think about how you're going to live. Emotional fasting fixes this. It forces the pause. It creates the space. It demands the stillness. It's not a luxury. It's not a treat. It's a requirement. It's as essential as sleep, as essential as food, as essential as oxygen, and you've been depriving yourself of it for years. No wonder you feel like you're suffocating. No wonder you feel like you're drowning. No wonder you feel like you can't think straight. You haven't had a clear breath of mental air in a decade. The practice is simple. The discipline is hard. You schedule empty space. You protect it like your life depends on it, because it does. You turn off your phone. You close your laptop. You shut your door. You sit. You do nothing. You consume nothing. You produce nothing. You just are. And you trust that this nothing is the most productive thing you could possibly do. You will feel guilty. You will feel lazy. You will feel like you're cheating. You're not cheating. You're doing the work that no one sees. The work that doesn't get likes. The work that doesn't get shares. The work that doesn't get applause. But it's the work that matters most. It's the work that builds the foundation for everything else. It's the work that turns information into transformation. Start this week. Schedule 1 hour. Just one. Put in your calendar. Give it a name. Mental fast. Empty space. Digestion time. It doesn't matter what you call it. It matters that you do it. You don't explain it to anyone. You don't apologize for it. You don't justify it. You protect it. You honor it. You treat it like the most important meeting of your week, because it is. During that hour, you will want to quit. You'll think of things need to check. You'll remember emails you should send. You'll worry about things you're missing. Write them down on a piece of paper. Then let them go. They're not going anywhere. The world will not collapse because you disappeared for an hour. The world won't even notice. But you will. You'll notice the shift. You'll notice the clarity. You'll notice the peace. You'll notice the power that comes from learning to be alone with yourself without being lonely. This is the final piece. You've removed the poison. You've learned to feed yourself. Now you're learning to let yourself digest, to let yourself rest, to let yourself be still. This is where wisdom comes from. Not from more information, not from more inspiration, from silence, from space, from the empty place where your own voice finally has room to speak. Even the ancients called this contemplation. The monks called it meditation. The philosophers called it reflection. You can call it whatever you want. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you do it. What matters is that you stop being afraid of nothing. What matters is that you realize empty space is not a void to be filled. It's a womb to be nurtured. It's where your best self is gestating. It's where your greatest ideas are forming. It's where your deepest insights are waiting. You don't need to fill every moment. You need to empty some of them. You don't need to consume constantly. You need to fast regularly. You don't need more input. You need more space, more silence, more stillness. This is the discipline that separates the truly great from the merely busy, the truly wise from the merely informed, the truly strong from the merely active. Schedule it, protect it, honor it, live it. Empty space is not your enemy. It's your greatest ally. Learn to sit with it. Learn to love it. Learn to use it, because in that emptiness you'll find everything you've been looking for, not outside, not in the feed, not in the noise. In you, in the quiet, in the space where you finally remember who you are and what you're here to do. This is emotional fasting. This is the power of empty space. This is your final lesson. Learn it. Live it. Become it. You think you need big wins to build momentum. You think you need massive action to prove you're serious. You think you need to transform your entire life in one heroic burst of discipline. That's why you keep failing, because big wins are rare. Massive action is unsustainable. Heroic bursts always end in dramatic collapses. You don't need big wins. You need micro wins. Tiny, almost invisible victories that are so small they feel ridiculous, but so powerful they create an avalanche. A micro win is not a small version of a big win. It's a completely different species. A big win is, I worked out for 2 hours. A micro win is, I put on my gym shoes. A big win is, I wrote 10 pages. A micro win is, I opened the document. A big win is, I cleaned the whole house. A micro win is, I threw away one piece of trash. You think these are meaningless. You think they don't count. You think they're just the starting line. You're on the win. They are the only win that matters, because they're the only wins you can guarantee. Your brain doesn't respond to intentions. It responds to completion. Every time you complete something, no matter how tiny, your brain releases a small hit of dopamine. It's not a flood, it's a trickle, but trickles add up, drops fill buckets. And a brain that gets consistent micro wins stops needing macro hits. It stops waiting for the big payoff. It stops living in feast or famine cycles. It becomes satisfied with progress. It becomes addicted to motion. It becomes a machine that builds, not a beggar that waits. The micro win avalanche starts with one action so small it feels insulting. You want to start reading. Don't commit to a chapter. Commit to one sentence. One, that's it. Open the book, read one sentence, close the book. Win. You want to start exercising? Don't commit to a workout. Commit to putting on your shoes. That's it. Tie the laces, stand up. Win. You want to start writing? Don't commit to a page. Commit to writing one word. One, any word. That's a win. You think I'm joking. I'm not. This is the physics of behavior change. This is how momentum actually works. Because here's what happens. You read one sentence, and 90% of the time, you'll read another. You tie your shoes, and 90% of the time, you'll walk outside. You write one word, and 90% of the time, you'll write another. But you don't count on that. You don't require it. You don't build your system around the 90%. You build it around the 10%. The times when you read one sentence and stop. The times you tie your shoes and sit back down. The times you write one word and close the laptop. Those times are not failures. They are wins. Because you did what you said. You completed the micro win. You kept the promise. And that promise, keeping, is the real muscle you're building. Big wins require motivation. Micro wins don't. They require almost nothing. They require so little that your weakness can't argue against them. Your weakness will say, you can't work out for an hour. Got fine. Don't. Just put on the shoes. Your weakness can't argue with that. Your weakness will say, you can't write a chapter. Fine. Don't. Just write one word. Your weakness can't fight that. You're not trying to overpower your weakness. You're sliding underneath it. You're making the action so small, so insignificant, so laughably easy that weakness doesn't even notice. It doesn't raise its voice. It doesn't put up a fight. It lets you pass. And once you pass, you're in motion. And once you're in motion, everything changes. This is how you hack your own resistance. This is how you bypass the part of you that wants to stay comfortable. You don't fight it. You don't argue with it. You don't try to overpower it with willpower. You make the action too small to trigger the defense system. You make the win so tiny that your brain doesn't register it as a threat. And then you win. Over and over and over. And the wins stack. And the stack becomes momentum. And momentum becomes identity. And identity becomes destiny. The micro win avalanche has rules. 1. The win must be so small it feels ridiculous. If it doesn't feel ridiculous, it's too big. 1 push-up right. 10 push-ups is wrong. 1 minute of reading is right. 1 chapter is wrong. 1 dish washed is right. Clean kitchen is wrong. You must feel almost embarrassed by how small it is. That's the sweet spot. That's where weakness sleeps. That's asinus bum. 2 win must be binary. You either did it or you didn't. No grey area. No. Almost. No, I tried. Did you put on the shoes? Yes or no? Did you read the sentence? Yes or no? Did you write the word? Yes or no? Binary wins are trackable. Binary wins are undeniable. Binary wins build trust with yourself. I tried to read a chapter is a lie. I read 1 sentence is a fact. 3. The win must be celebrated. Not with a party, not with a trophy. With a simple acknowledgement. That's it. You say it out loud. You write it down. You check it off. You recognize it. Because what gets celebrated gets repeated. What gets ignored gets abandoned. You celebrate the micro win because it's the foundation of everything. You wouldn't ignore the first brick in a house. Don't ignore the first micro win in your life. 4. The win must be consistent. Not when you feel like it, not when you remember. Every day. Same time, same ritual. The consistency matters more than the size. Doing one push-up every day is infinitely more powerful than doing 50 once a week, because the daily win builds identity. It builds, I am someone who does this. The weekly win builds, I'm someone who tries this. Identity beats intention every single time. Now here's the avalanche part. Each micro win is a snowflake. One snowflake is nothing, it's invisible. It melts before it hits the ground. But when snowflakes stick together, when they accumulate, when they build on each other, they become unstoppable. They become an avalanche. They move mountains. They reshape landscapes. That's what you're building. An avalanche of micro wins that starts with one flake and ends with an entirely new life. Let's map it. Day 1, you put on your gym shoes. That's it. Win. Day 2, you put on your gym shoes and walk outside. Win. Day 3, you put on your shoes, walk outside, and walk to the end of the block. Win. Day 4, you walk around the block. Win. Day 5, you walk 2 blocks. Win. By day 30, you're walking 3 miles. By day 60, you're running. By day 90, the gym is a habit. But you never started with the gym. You started with the shoes. The gym was never the goal. The identity was the goal. The I am someone who moves was the goal. The micro wins built the identity. The identity built the life. This works for everything. Writing a book. Day 1, write 1 word. Win. Day 2, write 1 sentence. Win. Day 3, write 1 paragraph. Win. By day 30, you have a chapter. By day 90, you have a manuscript. Starting a business. Day 1, write 1 sentence about your idea. Win. Day 2, write 1 page. Win. Day 3, research 1 competitor. Win. By day 30, you have a business plan. By day 90, you have a launch. You think this is too slow. You think you'll be behind. Behind whom? The people who are still waiting for motivation. The people who are still reading productivity books. The people who are still planning their heroic transformation. They're not ahead. They're stuck. They're running in place. You're building an avalanche. It's invisible at first. It's laughable at first. But it's moving. And once it starts moving, nothing can stop it. The micro win avalanche destroys the biggest lie in self-improvement, that you need to feel ready before you start. You don't. You need to start so small that readiness is irrelevant. You need to act so tiny that motivation is unnecessary. You need to win so consistently that identity becomes inevitable. Your weakness wants big wins because big wins are rare. Big wins give you an excuse to fail. I tried to work out for an hour, but I got busy. That's not a failure of action. That's a failure of sizing. You made the win too big. You gave weed easy to target. Micro wins don't give weakness a target. They're too small to hit. They slip past the defenses. They can't be argued with. They can't be rationalized away. They just happen. And then they happen again. And again. This is how you beat procrastination. Procrastination is fear of the big win. It's intimidation by the massive action. It's paralysis in the face of the heroic. You don't fight procrastination. You make it irrelevant. You shrink the action so small that procrastination doesn't even notice. I'll just read 1 sentence. Procrastination laughs. That's not even work. Exactly. It's not work. It's a win. And while procrastination is laughing, you're winning. You're building. You're moving. And by the time procrastination realizes what's happening, you're already in motion. And motion beats motivation every time. Motion beats Belevedausen. The avalanche also builds your win trust. Right now, you don't trust yourself. You've broken too many promises. You've set too many big goals and failed. Your brain has evidence that you're not someone who follows through. Micro wins give you new evidence. Irrefutable evidence. I said I would put on my shoes. I put on my shoes. Therefore, I am someone who does what I say. That's evidence. That's proof. That's a new identity being built one tiny win at a time. You need to track them. Not in an app. Not with a streak counter that makes you feel like a failure when you break it. You track them on paper. You write the win. You check the box, see the proof. Put on shoes. Read 1 sentence. Write 1 word. These checks are your evidence. These checks are your identity. These checks are your avalanche. You don't need 100 checks. You need 1 today, then 1 tomorrow, then 1 the next day. The chain matters more than the length. The beauty of micro wins is that they're anti-fragile. They get stronger when life gets harder. When you're sick, you can still put on your shoes. When you're busy, you can still read one sentence. When you're exhausted, you can still write one word. Micro wins don't require ideal conditions. They don't require energy. They don't require motivation. They require almost nothing. And that's why they survive when everything else breaks down. This is how you become consistent, not by forcing yourself to be heroic, by allowing yourself to be small, by making the standard so low you can't fail, by building a system that produces wins even on your worst day. Because your worst day will come. And if your system requires heroic effort, it will collapse. But if your system requires you to put on shoes, it stands. It's a wins. The Avalanche doesn't ask for applause. It doesn't need recognition. It doesn't require a cheering section. It's invisible. It's silent. It's relentless. It just keeps building. One flake at a time. One win at a time. One identity shift at a time. And then one day someone looks at your life and says, "How did you transform so quickly?" And you'll laugh because it wasn't quick. It was microscopic. It was invisible. It was one micro win at a time, compounded over months, until the avalanche became unstoppable. You don't need to be impressive today. You need to be consistent. You don't need to be heroic today. You need to be reliable. You don't need to be perfect today. You need to be present. Present enough to put on the shoes. Present enough to read one sentence. Present enough to write one word. That's it. That's the whole game. And you can win it right now. Choose your first micro win. Make it laughably small. Make it embarrassingly easy. Make it so simple your weakness can't argue. Then do it. Do it today. Do it now. Not to impress anyone. Not to feel motivated. Not to have a story. But to start the avalanche. To drop the first flake. To prove to yourself that you can win, and then tomorrow do it again. And the day after that, do it again. The avalanche is coming. But it starts with you, right now, choosing to win one microscopic victory. Put on the shoes, write the word, read the sentence. Win, then win again, then again, until winning becomes who you are, not what you do, until the micro wins become a macro life, until the invisible becomes unstoppable. This is how you improve, not with a bang, with a flake, not with a revolution, with a routine, not with a declaration, with a decision, one micro win at a time, and then now's a time. You wake up and the first battle begins. Not with your alarm, not with your schedule, with your 20 shirts, 10 pairs of pants, 5 pairs of shoes, and you stand there paralyzed, making a decision that doesn't matter. You burn mental energy on clothing. You spend willpower on color coordination. You deplete your decision reserves before you've even left the house. And you wonder why by noon you can't choose the healthy lunch. Why by 3 p.m. you can't decide to start the project. Why by evening you can't resist the scroll. You're not weak, you're depleted. You've been making decisions all day. And decisions are a finite resource. The decision architecture is the practice of making decisions before you need to make them. It's the art of automating the trivial, so you can focus on the critical. It's the science of preserving your mental energy for what matters by removing choice from what doesn't. It's how you stop negotiating with yourself and start executing without thought. It's how you become disciplined without using discipline. It's how you win the war by removing the battles. Your brain has a decision budget. Every choice you make, no matter how small, withdraws from that budget. What should I wear? What should I eat? Withdrawal. Should I work out? Withdrawal. Should I check my phone now or later? Withdrawal. By the time you face a real decision, should I start the business? Should I have the hard conversation? Should I invest in myself? Your account is empty. Your decision broke. You can't afford the important choices because you wasted your budget on trivia. Decision architectures this by making 90% of your choices automatic, not optional. Not, I'll decide when I get there. Automatic. Pre-decided, locked in, non-negotiable. You decide once when you're strong, when you're clear, when you're motivated. Then you never decide again. You just execute. The decision is made. The debate is over. The weakness has no voice. The negotiation never happens. You start with the morning. The morning is where your decision budget is fullest. That's where you need to spend it on building, not choosing. So you decide the night before. You lay out your clothes, not options, not what do I feel like wearing, one outfit, 1. Already decided, already laid out. You wake up, you put it on. No thought, no choice, no waste. Your breakfast is decided. Not, what am I in the mood for? It's pre-planned, it's pre-prepared if possible. You eat it at the same time. Every day, it requires zero decision. It's fuel. It's not a choice. It's a ritual. Rituals don't require decisions. Rituals are decisions that have been made permanent. Your workout time is decided. Not, I'll see how I feel. Not, if I have time. It's in the calendar. It's non-negotiable. It's automatic. At 7 a.m. you are in the gym. Or you are putting on your shoes. Or you are doing your one push-up. Whatever the micro win is, it's pre-selected. The only decision is compliance, the choice to execute. Not the choice of what, when or how. Just the choice to be someone who keeps their word. That's a single decision, not dozens. This is the magic of architecture. You're not fighting weakness multiple times a day. You're fighting it once. When you build the system, when you design the routine, when you lock in the schedule. After that, you're just a machine executing code. Weakness can't argue with code. Weakness can't negotiate with architecture. It can't say, meet tomorrow to a pre-decided 7 a.m. alarm. It can only comply or rebel. And rebellion is a different kind of decision. It's a decision to quit the system. That's a big decision. That's a decision that requires energy. And most of the time, weakness is too lazy to make that big decision. So it complies. Your workday is architected. You don't decide what to work on in the moment. You decide the night before. You write down the one thing, not 10 things. One thing, most important thing, the thing that moves the needle, the thing that builds your future. You write it down. You put it on your desk. You don't debate it in the morning. You don't check email first. You don't keys into it. You sit down and you do the one thing. That's already decided. The only decision is start, and starting is easier when there's no alternative. When there's no choice of what to start, only whether to start. What to even in a lavana. Email is architected. You don't check it all day. You check it at 2 specific times. 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. That's it. Not when you feel like it. Not when you hear a ding. Not when you're bored at 11 and 4. You process it for 30 minutes. You batch the decisions. You treat it like a task, not a lifestyle. You don't live in your inbox. You visit it. You control it. It doesn't contextual you. That's lunch is architected. Not, what should I have? You decide the night before. You pack it. You bring it, eat it. No choice. No decision. No, I'll just grab something. No, I'll decide when I get hungry. You decided when you were strong. You execute when you're weak. That's how you win is architected. It's not in your pocket all day. It's not on your desk. It's in another room. You check it at scheduled times. 12 p.m., 5 p.m. That's it. Not between tasks. Not during breaks. Not just for a second. You built a system. You respect the system. The system protects you from yourself. Every decision you automate is a deposit back into your decision budget. It's like finding money you didn't know you had. You wake up and you don't decide what to wear, what to eat, when to work, what to work on, when to check email, when to look at your phone. That's 6 decisions saved. 6 withdrawals cancelled. That's 6 units of willpower preserved for the decisions that actually matter. Should I invest in this opportunity? Should I have the hard conversation with my partner? Should I start the side business? Should I say no to this request? These are the decisions that shape your life. And you can't afford them if you're broke from deciding whether to have oatmeal or eggs. The architecture must be written down, not in your head. I have a general idea, written on paper, in a binder, on your wall, where you can see it, where it's real, where it's not negotiable. You write down your morning ritual, step by step, minute by minute. You write down your work start routine. You write down your shutdown routine. You write down your evening routine. You make it so detailed that there's no room for decision. There's only room for execution. Morning ritual: 6:100 a.m. wake. 6:05 drink glass of water. 10 put on pre-selected clothes. 6:20 eat pre-planned breakfast. 6:30 read 10 pages with pen in hand. Execute pre-sada got the sada. Desari 4:5 shout all 8 tre hoser. Start pre-chosen most important task. That's not a list of suggestions. That's architecture. That's code. That's a system that runs whether you feel like it or not. The most powerful part of decision architecture is that it makes failure visible. If you don't follow the system, you can't blame it on being tired or busy or overwhelmed. You made a decision to break the architecture. That's a different kind of failure. That's not a failure of discipline. That's a failure of commitment. That's a decision to quit. And that's a big decision. That's worth examining. That's worth facing. Because when the system is clear and you don't follow it, the truth is unavoidable: you quit. And you need to know that about yourself. But here's the thing: when the architecture is right, you rarely quit, because quitting requires more decisions than complying. You have to decide to break the pattern. You have to decide to ignore the schedule. You have to decide to blow up the system. That's work. That's effort. That's a big withdrawal from your decision budget. Most days, weakness doesn't have the energy for that big withdrawal. So it defaults to compliance. It defaults to execution. It defaults to the path of least resistance. And the path of least resistance is the architecture you built when you were strong. You need to architect your entire week. Every Sunday, you spend 1 hour building the architecture for the next 7 days. You decide what you'll eat for breakfast each day. You decide what you'll wear. You decide what your micro-win workout will be. You decide what your one most important work task is each day. You decide when you'll check email. You decide when you'll check your phone. You decide everything that can be decided in advance. You remove choice from the week. You remove negotiation from the week. You make the week a system to be executed, not a series of decisions to be made. This is how you become productive without burnout. This is how you become disciplined without depletion. This is how you become consistent without exhaustion. Because you're not using willpower. You're using architecture. Willpower runs out, architecture doesn't. Willpower is a feeling. Architecture is a fact. Willpower is negotiable, architecture is not. Your weakness will test the architecture. It will say, this is too rigid. This is too boring. This is too extreme. That's weakness trying to protect its right to negotiate. That's weakness trying to preserve its ability to choose comfort. Argue. You don't debate. You point to the schedule and you execute. The architecture is not up for discussion. It's not a democracy. It's a dictatorship. You are the dictator of your own life. You decided when you were strong. You execute when you're weak. That's the deal. Decision architecture also includes decision elimination. You don't just pre-decide. You eliminate entire categories of decisions. You don't have 20 shirts. You're all the same color. You don't have 10 pairs of pants. You have 3. You don't have a closet full of options. You have a uniform. You have a signature style. You have a repeatable, non-decision-based solution to clothing. This isn't boring. This is brilliant. This is what every great leader does. They eliminate the trivial to focus on the critical. You do this with food. You don't have a pantry full of meal choices. You have staple, you have a rotation. Monday is chicken and vegetables. Tuesday is fish and rice. Wednesday is, you decide the rotation. You don't decide in the moment. You decided once. You execute forever. You don't waste mental energy on, what should I eat? You waste it on, how do I solve the real problem in front of me? You do this with your social life. You don't say, we should hang out sometime. You say, I have 2 slots, Tuesday 7 or Thursday at 6, which works. You don't negotiate the time. You offer the architecture. They comply or they don't. But you don't spend energy deciding when you're free. You know when you're free, it's in the calendar. It's already decided. The ultimate goal of decision architecture is to make your life run on autopilot for the 90% that doesn't matter, so you can be fully present for the 10% that does. You shouldn't be thinking about your breakfast. Why? You should be thinking about your business. You shouldn't be thinking about your outfit. You should be thinking about your relationship. You shouldn't be thinking about when to work out. So you should be thinking about how to solve the creative problem. The architecture handles the background. You handle the foreground. This is how you scale yourself. This is how you become more productive without becoming more stressed. This is how you accomplish more while thinking less. Because thinking about the wrong things is what exhausts you. Deciding about trivia is what depletes you. Our architecture removes that burden. It gives you your mind back. It gives you your energy back. It gives you your life back. But you have to build it. No one will build it for you. No app can build it for you. No system can design it for you. You have to sit down and architect your life. You have to decide what matters and what doesn't. You have to decide what gets your decision energy and what gets automated. You have to be ruthless. You have to be surgical. You have to be honest about what you're currently wasting your life deciding. Start tonight. Before bed, write down your morning architecture. What time you wake, what you eat, what you read, what you do. Write it step by step. Make it so clear a stranger could follow it. Then tomorrow follow it. Don't decide, execute. Don't negotiate, complete. Don't think. See how it feels. See how much energy you save. See how much clarity you gain. Then adjust. Improve. Build the architecture better each week. This is not a one-time thing. This is a forever practice. Your architecture will evolve. Your systems will improve. Your routines will refine. But the principle remains: decide when you're strong, execute when you're weak. Automate the trivial. Reserve your energy for the critical. Build a life that runs on systems, not on willpower. The alternative is what you've been doing. Deciding everything on the fly, negotiating every action, debating every choice, burning your budget on trivia, arriving at the important decisions broke and exhausted, making the wrong call because you can't afford the right one. That's not a life, that's a reaction. That's survival. That's weakness by 1,000 small decisions. Architecture is strength by a few big decisions, repeated forever. Choose your system. Lock it in. Execute without thought. That's how you improve. That's how you take back control. Not by trying harder, by deciding smarter, not by feeling more motivated, by removing the need for motivation entirely, not by hoping for consistency, by building a system that cannot be inconsistent. Decide once, execute for the architecture. That's the secret. That's the way forward. Stand in front of the mirror. Not the one on your phone, not the one with filters, not the one that shows you what you want to see. The real one, the one that hangs on your wall and reflects the room and the person in it with brutal, unforgiving accuracy. Look at yourself. Really look. Past the clothes. Past the surface. Look into your own eyes. Keep looking, don't look away. This is the only place in your world where truth is still mandatory. This is the only judge that can't be bribed. This is the only witness who knows everything. The mirror doesn't care about your intentions. The mirror doesn't care about your plans. The mirror doesn't care about how you feel. The mirror only shows what is. And you've been avoiding it for years. You think you know yourself because you post your thoughts online. You think you understand yourself because you journal your feelings. You think you're honest with yourself because you meditate occasionally and reflect on your journey. That's not honesty. That's performance. That's a curated version of you that you can stomach. That's you controlling the narrative. The mirror doesn't let you control the narrative. The mirror shows the truth what you did today, the truth of what you consumed, the truth of what you built, the truth of what you avoided, the truth of who you are, not who you pretend to be. Look in the mirror and ask one question. Just one. Did I feed myself today or did I poison myself? Answer it out loud. Don't whisper, say it. The truth needs air. The truth needs sound. The truth needs to leave your mouth and hit your ears so you can't pretend you didn't hear it. Did you feed your mind with nourishing content or did you scroll through junk? Did you feed your body with real food or did you numb it with sugar? Did you feed your spirit with purposeful action or did you starve it with distraction? Answer, yes or no. Or kind of. There's no, mostly. There's no, I tried. You either fed yourself or you poisoned yourself. Which was it? The mirror will show you. The mirror always shows you. Your eyes will tell the truth. They'll look tired if you've been poisoning yourself. They'll look clear if you've been feeding yourself. They'll look empty if you've been consuming feelings that aren't yours. They'll look alive if you've been creating your own. You can't hide from the mirror. You can't filter it. You can't edit it. You can't use a better angle. Real. Honest. Now ask the second question. Did I keep my promises today? All of them. The micro-win promises, the architecture promises, the feeding promises. Did you put on the shoes? Did you read the 10 pages? Did you check the box? Did you execute the system? Or did you negotiate? Did you rationalize? Did you say, just this once? Did you trade your identity for comfort? Answer. Out loud. The mirror is listening. This is not self-criticism. This is self-accountability. There's a difference. Criticism tears you down. Accountability builds you up by refusing to let you lie. Criticism says you're a failure. Accountability says, You failed today, and you'll win tomorrow. Criticism is shame. Accountability is love. The mirror loves you enough to show you the truth. You need to love yourself enough to look at it. The third question, am I the person I want to become, or am I still the person I promised to leave behind? Look at your reflection. Really look. Is that the body of someone who respects themselves? Is that the posture of someone who owns their life? Is that the gaze of someone who trusts themselves? Or is that the eyes of someone who is still negotiating with weakness? Still making excuses? Still selling their future for a moment of comfort? The mirror knows, and now you do too. This is your daily practice, not weekly. Not when you feel like it. Daily, you stand in front of the mirror for 3 minutes. No phone, no music, no distractions, just you and the truth. You ask the 3 questions, you answer them out loud. You look yourself in the eye when you answer. You don't flinch, you don't look away. You take the truth like a shot of medicine. It burns, hurts, but it heals. If you fed yourself, you acknowledge it. I fed myself today, I kept my promise. I became stronger. Say it, mean it. Let it land. This is how you reinforce the identity. This is how you build self-trust. This is how you celebrate the win that no one else saw. You saw it. The mirror saw it. That's enough. If you poisoned yourself, you acknowledge it. I poisoned myself today. I broke my promise. I chose comfort over growth. Say it. No excuses. No, tomorrow I'll do better. Just the truth. Then you make one decision. One micro win. Right there, in front of the mirror. Tomorrow I will put on the shoes. That's it. You don't fix everything. You don't promise a revolution. You commit to one micro win. You lock it into the architecture. You decide. The mirror holds you to it. This practice will change you faster than any book, any course, any coach. Because it's daily. Because it's raw. Because it's real. Because it removes the gap between who you are and who you're pretending to be. The mirror closes that gap. The mirror forces congruence. The mirror demands alignment, and alignment is where power lives. You can't lie to the mirror. You can lie to your journal. You can lie to your friends. You can lie to your therapist. You can even lie to yourself in your head, but you can't lie to the mirror. The mirror sees the slumped shoulders. The mirror sees the tired eyes. The mirror sees the tension in your jaw. The mirror sees the weight of the promises you broke. The mirror sees the emptiness of the poison you consumed, and it shows it to you, without mercy, without judgment, just truth. Some days you'll want to smash the mirror or look away, you'll want to run. That's when you need it most. That's when the truth is most valuable. That's when the poison is deepest. Stay, look underside. This is the crucible. This is where identity is forged, not in the gym, not in the books, not in the systems, in the mirror, in the moment of raw, unfiltered, uncomfortable truth telling to yourself, cancer. The mirror reveals the gap between your values and your actions, between your aspirations and your behavior, between the person you claim to be and the person you actually are. You can't close that gap if you can't see it. The mirror shows it to you every day, in high definition, in real time, with no filter. And you have to look, you have to see, you have to accept. Because acceptance is the first step to change, not inspiration, not motivation, acceptance. This is the final layer. This is the ultimate accountability. This is where all the systems, the architecture, the micro wins, the feeding schedule, they all get tested. Because the mirror shows you whether you're actually following through or just playing a role. The mirror shows you whether you're actually building a new identity or just performing for an audience that isn't there. The mirror shows you whether you're actually disciplined or just disciplined when people are watching. The practice is simple. 3 minutes. One decision, no matter what. No exceptions. No skipping. No, I'm too tired. Especially when you're too tired. Especially when you don't want to. Especially when the truth is ugly. That's when it matters most. That's when you're either breaking the old pattern or cementing it. The mirror shows you which. You think you know yourself. You don't. You know your story. You know your narrative. You know the character you play. The mirror knows you. The mirror sees the real actor underneath. The mirror sees the fear. The mirror sees the laziness. The mirror sees the doubt. The mirror sees the potential. The mirror sees everything. And it won't let you hide. This is the most important 3 minutes of your day, more important than the workout, more important than the reading, more important than the work, because this is where you face yourself. This is where you own yourself. This is where you become yourself. Everything else is just action. This is alignment. Action without alignment is just busyness. Alignment without action is just dreaming. The mirror forces both. The mirror demands both. The mirror reveals both. Stand there. Don't move. Ask. Decide. That's it. That's the work. That's the truth. That's the path. The mirror doesn't lie. And now neither can you. There comes a moment. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't arrive with trumpets. It's quiet, subtle, almost imperceptible. But you'll feel it. It's the moment when weakness stops whispering. When negotiation ends, when the system you've built stops being something you do and becomes something you are. This is the point of no return, and it's the only goal that matters. Before this moment, you're a person trying to be disciplined. You're a person building systems. You're a person following architecture. You're a person tracking micro wins. You're a person feeding yourself. You're a person detoxing from poison. You're a person doing the work. After this moment, you are the work. You are the discipline. You are the system. You are the architecture. You don't follow it. You embody it. You don't choose it. You are it. And weakness has no one to talk to anymore because the person who used to listen is gone. This is not a feeling. This is not motivation. This is not inspiration. This is identity collapse and reconstruction. The old you. The one who negotiated, the one who rationalized, the one who waited for the right mood, has starved to death. You stopped feeding it. You stopped listening to it. You stopped identifying with it. And one day, you realize it's not there anymore. The voice is silent. The doubts are gone. The temptations are still present, but they're external. They're not internal. They're not you. They're just options that you automatically, reflexively, without thought or emotion, reject. You know you've reached this point when you stop thinking about the system, when you stop tracking the micro wins because winning is just breathing. When you stop checking the schedule because you are the schedule. You stop debating whether to follow the architecture because the architecture is your nature. When the healthy choice is not the hard choice. It's the only choice. When the junk food doesn't tempt because it doesn't register as food. When the scroll doesn't call because you don't hear it. When the negotiation doesn't happen because there's no one to negotiate with. This is not perfection. You will still have bad days. You will still feel tired. You will still face setbacks. But the response is different. The response is automatic. The response is systematized. You don't think, I should get back on track. You just get back on track because there is no track. There is only you. The track and you have merged. The path and the walker are one. The point of no return happens when you look in the mirror and you don't need to ask the 3 questions anymore. You already know the answers. You feel them in your bones. You see them in your eyes. You live them in your cells. The truth is not something you discover. It's something you are. The alignment is not something you achieve. It's something you breathe. The discipline is not something you do. It's something you exude. People around you will notice. They won't know what changed. They'll say you seem different, calmer, stronger, more present. They'll ask what you're doing. You'll try to explain. You'll talk about emotional diets and decision architecture and micro wins. They'll nod. They won't understand. Because you can't explain identity to someone who's still negotiating with weakness. You can't describe silence to someone living in noise. You can't share peace with someone addicted to chaos. They have to walk the path themselves. You can only show them the door. You can't make them walk through it. The point of no return is not a destination. It's a threshold. Once you cross it, you can't go back. Not because you're forbidden, but because you don't want to. The poison tastes like poison now. The junk feels like junk. The noise sounds like noise. You've tasted clarity. You've felt peace. You've owned yourself. You can't taste that. You can't feel that. Become that. The old life is still available, but it's no longer attractive. It's like offering a steak to someone who's discovered they're vegetarian. It's not food anymore. This is the real transformation, not the 6-pack abs, not the bookshelf full of read books, not the successful business, not the impressive habits. Those are side effects. The real transformation is when you become someone who doesn't need to try. You just are. You don't need to track. You just do. You don't need to motivate. You have become the system. You have become the discipline. You have become the improvement. What does this look like in practice? You wake up. You don't think about whether to check your phone. You don't check it. You don't think about whether to follow the morning ritual. You follow it. You don't think about what to wear. You wear it. You don't think about what to eat. You eat it. You don't think about whether to work out. You work out. You don't think about whether to start the work. You start it. You don't think about whether to feed yourself nourishing content. You consume it. You don't think about whether to look in the mirror. You look. You don't think about whether to be honest. You are honest because there is no alternative. The alternative is death. The alternative is chaos. The alternative is the old you. And the old you no longer exists. The system has collapsed into identity. The architecture has become instinct. The discipline has become nature. You have become the person you were pretending to be. You have become the person you were performing as. The performance is over. The actor has become the role. The mask has become the face. The mirror shows you not who you want to be, but who you are. And for the first time, those are the same person. This is the point of no return. And it's not earned through a heroic act. It's earned through 1,000 micro wins, through 1,000 honest mirror moments, through 1,000 decisions to feed yourself instead of poison yourself, through 1,000 times you chose architecture over negotiation, through 1,000 times you sat in the silence instead of reaching for the noise. It's earned slowly, painfully, invisibly, until one day it's just there, and you realize you're not trying anymore. You just are. The work isn't over. The work never ends. But the nature of the work changes. It stops being about building discipline and starts being about expressing it. It stops being about following systems and starts being about refining them. It stops being about becoming someone and starts being about being someone. The verb changes, the energy changes, from striving to embodying, from chasing to being, from proving to living. Your life is now the proof. Your days are now the testimony. Your actions are now the identity. You don't need to track them. They're just you. You don't need to celebrate them. They're just breathing. You don't need to share them. They're just yours. This is the final message, the final truth, the final piece. You don't become disciplined. You become disciplined. You don't practice self-improvement. You become improved. You don't follow a path. You become the path. And once you're the path, you can't get lost. Once you're the discipline, you can't be weak. Once you're the system, you can't be inconsistent. The point of no return is when you realize you were never trying to change your life. You were trying to change yourself, and you did. And now, the life is just a reflection of who you've become. The mirror shows you someone you respect. The mirror shows you someone you trust. The mirror shows you someone who doesn't need to look in the mirror anymore to know the truth. Because the truth is you. And you are enough. You are strong. You are free. The poison is gone. The noise is silent. The weakness is dead. The system is you. The discipline is you. The improvement is you. And you are unstoppable, not because you're perfect, not because you're unbeatable, because you no longer negotiate with what would destroy you. You no longer consume what would poison you. You no longer avoid what would grow you. You just are. You just do. You just win. This is the end of the book, but it's the beginning of you. The real you, the one who was always there, buried under the noise, waiting for you to stop feeding the poison and start feeding the potential. Welcome back. Now go, live.